Happy Monday, guys. Happy August, which is crazy, but also just fun because I'm super excited for September and October, and those come after August. So we got to get through August so that we can get to those big moments that come in the next couple months. I hope that you are excited for your August and your September and your October. Or if you're not, find something challenging to look forward to. Find something exciting to look forward to. To me, challenges are exciting. So those tests that I have coming up are just they are what get me going in the morning. I'm excited to see how I can perform, and Lord willing, we'll succeed and we'll be 100%. 50% would be all right, and 0% would be sad, but we would still be okay. So find something fun in the next few months to look forward to if you're not already just excited for a new month. This week, I try to balance this content between like fitness content, nutrition content, which we've had a couple episodes over some nutrition studies and stuff like that. Obviously, I sometimes throw in just random episodes of my brain waves that pop up and are a little bit motivational. And then obviously you get the faith aspect as the overall umbrella for everything I speak, because I am nothing if not for Jesus Christ. So he is the reason I do this podcast. He is the reason I have the goals of fitness and nutrition and the passion for helping everybody live that holistically healthy life that I do. Saying that, I had some conversations this week with some friends who aren't fitness enthusiasts. They aren't people who necessarily design their entire day around their gym workout, which is most people. I realize I'm the weird one that's like sitting thinking about what my perfectly handcrafted workout will be on a random Tuesday when I'm not even necessarily trying to be a super big power lifter, or I am trying to be a marathoner, so I am always dreaming of the next big workout. And that's cool. That's fun for me, but it's not for everybody else. For everybody else, a lot of times it is just, what can I do to be healthy? Meaning just averagely, not going backwards. Some people aren't looking for progressing their fitness and progressing their strength per se, but they're just trying to maintain enough so that their life doesn't regress and that they can maintain longevity for doing the things they do love to do, which is typical just living. And I touched on this last week, but the gym used to not exist. People just did their manual labor in their lives, and then they didn't need to get a gym membership and go work out for 45 minutes a day. That is a very modern problem that we have because we've removed all the manual labor in our lives. So some of us need to supplement that if you're not getting that in your regular life. There are many blue-collar people. I have a lot of blue-collar people that I interact with on the daily, and sometimes I miss that part of my life where my job was my workout. I roofed for many, many years, and believe me, I did not need to go to the gym after standing on a hot roof all day and carrying shingle bundles up a ladder. But as an accountant who sits at a desk job, I do, and I also enjoy it. For those people who don't enjoy it, it's more important for them to just do the minimum amount of work for the necessary amount of output, meaning they can still function into their 80s, into their 90s. And becoming that person, working out becomes very simple. And these people that I was talking to this week, they just wanted that. They just wanted the simple plan for how to build sort of this bulletproof body. Not one that can do anything amazing or do anything extreme, but just one that can function the way God created it to function. And so I went back to one of my favorite resources, which is the Mindpump podcast. And Sal, Justin, and Adam on this podcast, they are fitness influencers for the average person. Just the person who just wants to feel good, maybe look good, but really just function well and be able to serve others, which is what the whole goal is. I go to the gym so that I can help somebody lift their suitcase up overhead at the airport, so that I am then able to mow the lawn in a quick stint when somebody needs me to. That is what fitness is. Fitness is being fit to live your life. And so, looking at that light, I decided to go back to the Mindpump podcast because they have plenty of programs for the average person, and these programs are only making you do the lifts and the workouts that will produce that result that you want to just be a well-functioning person. And there are 8 exercises. These 8 exercises, they say, and I agree, are all applicable to things you do in your daily life, meaning that they just help you do what you're already doing for a long time. So this is just on my phone because I just did it on my walk this morning. So these 8 exercises I'll give you all 8 of them at once, and then we'll break down each one. The first one is squats. Second one, incline bench, overhead press, deadlift, a pull-up or a row, lateral drag or a lateral lunge, windmills, and abs. Those are basically the 8 movements that you need to do to keep your body and touch every portion of your body to get a full body sort of workout in a week. And the way they structure it is you can do one of these exercises a day, which you're going to go, there's 8 exercises, there's 7 days. Believe it or not, it's okay to do things in a irregular cycle, meaning you can do 8 days of a training plan and then take a day off, and it doesn't need to be like the perfect, like I do legs on Monday, I do legs on Tuesday. It can be I do legs on Monday and then I go 8 days through the cycle and then I do legs on a Wednesday the next time the cycle begins. It's okay to work out like that. And I think the whole idea of a person being not a fitness enthusiast who just wants to work out to be healthy, it's honestly easier to give yourself that grace to say, I'm just going to go in 3 days a week. Do I know when those 3 days a week are? No, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to get it done. These exercises are also things that you can do at home. So let's start with the first one, squats. Squats are a full body workout per se. And it is also the thing that you are going to have to do every day for the rest of your life, whether you want to think about it that way or not. Everybody has to stand up off the toilet. Everybody has to sit down and stand up out of a chair. For the rest of your life, you will be doing that movement. And a squat just strengthens you so that you will be able to continue doing that movement without pain, without struggle. You can do many different variations of a squat. I love front squats. Back squats, I lose my form and I don't get as deep, and I just find that I get more back pain when I do back squats. Front squats, you keep the weight racked on your chest, and I find that my posture is better, and I can actually probably do more weight on a front squat with good form than I can if I tried to smack a bunch of weight on a back squat. The squats obviously work your legs, your quads. You can get some hamstring work, especially if you have longer femurs like I do. I feel like I always blame my weaker legs on the fact that I have long femurs and I gotta go down deeper, and it ends up being more like a hamstring movement. But they also work your glutes, obviously, and they also are like real work for your core as well, because that is a stabilizing muscle. What we will talk about later is that abs are not what we make them, which is high rep, 6-pack aesthetic things. Your abs are at the heart of your mobility, at the heart of your stability and everything you do. And so squats make sure that you have to engage your core while also carrying a load and pushing that load off of you. And all of these movements I would recommend doing with a barbell first and foremost, at least some of them, and then dumbbells, and try to stay away from the machines unless you are a person who the stability component is what hurts you. I do know people who have issues with hip pain or back pain or ankle pain, and it's because those muscles have had an injury or they have a condition where they can't stabilize you. And in that case, a machine squat, or think of a machine press, or belt squats are a thing, hack squats, those machines, even a Smith machine, those machines can aid you by making you not have to stable it. It's just harder because then you're going to need to be doing things to help you grow your stabilizing muscles, your core, your obliques, because you're not naturally getting that in your squats. If you squat correctly, you should feel like you kind of were holding, bracing and getting an ab workout out of it. That's why when you see the powerlifters, they suck in really far and strap on their belt, and that's what you want to do. It's better if you can do it without a belt, but you want to brace that core and keep your body upright as you squat. That'll also concentrate the effort into your legs and keep it out of your back. So the first movement, and probably the most important for everybody, is squats. The next one is a bench press, and I would tell you specifically an incline bench press. I find for most women this is more comfortable because you can hit higher up on the chest than when you're doing a flat bench. It's also more practical. So when you're having to push, remember, we're doing these exercises because they resemble things we do in our real lives. Squatting, getting off the toilet, standing up. Bench pressing is having to push something off of you. And when you are in real life, very rarely are you laying flat on your back having to push something off of you. You're oftentimes at some sort of angle, or you're pushing something out in front of you. And so that incline angle means that you're at a better posture to apply to your real life. It also works your upper chest, which for many men even, the upper chest is what lacks. And if you don't have an upper chest and you only have other chest muscles, it looks imbalanced, and you'll oftentimes have some delt pain or some back pain because that lower chest isn't as functional in your real life and doesn't work as well with your shoulders and your delts. So that incline bench is a better movement because it corrects the posture issues that we have in real life from sitting down all the time. It also promotes what would actually happen in real life when you have to push something off of yourself. Overhead press is the next one, the third main of the 8 exercises. Overhead press is also one that we do every day in our lives. Whether you're standing on your tippy toes and grabbing a box of cereal, putting the suitcase up at an airport, putting something up in your garage, even setting something on top of your car, all of that is an overhead press. And so what we need to do with an overhead press is not look at it as just a movement for your shoulders. It's so much more than that. You are bracing your core. Think of farmer's carries. Farmer's carries are often an exercise where I feel it more in my core than I do in my shoulders, and I fatigue more in my core because I don't use my core as much as I use my shoulders. So this overhead press is requiring you to brace your core, and it's like the squat for the upper body, because then all of your delts, front delts, back delts, side delts, even some of your biceps, when you come on that downward angle, everything is getting moved. And any movement that moves more muscles into full stretch and then full contraction, that's getting the most bang for your buck. And if you're a person who doesn't love to go stand at the gym for 3.5 hours and mess around with all these accessory movements, an overhead press and a squat are going to cover almost every muscle in your body for just 15 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day. One set or one sort of set of, can't think of the word, one sort of round or section of 3 to 4 sets of heavy loaded of these exercises. You don't want to just do a ton of reps. Once you get the form down, you want to progressive overload them. That's why I think this 8 exercise approach to working out is really good too, because it's like you're practicing the movements. Think of a power lifter. A power lifter does like 3 exercises: bench press, deadlift, and squat. And they just do those throughout the week, and they get really good at them. They do 5x5s, or even like single reps, 2 reps, 3 reps, lower reps, higher weight, which means higher volume. And that's how you get good at something, and that's how you can track your progress over time. Because this week, let's say you do 65 pounds on an overhead press. Next week, maybe you do 67.5. Maybe you do 70. It's really easy to see the progress, and progress will encourage you to keep coming back, because as your weight goes up on the bar, odds are aesthetically and physically you begin feeling better, and that's your body only gets stronger when it feels safe to be stronger. And so if you're progressing up in weight, that means your body is progressing in strength, which means your body feels safe to keep getting stronger, and that's a good thing. That means you're succeeding in your efforts of going to the gym. The fourth one is deadlift. Deadlift is probably the one that most people frown upon, because when it's done wrong, it causes back pain. When it's done correctly, it actually reduces the risk of you ever having back pain again. The deadlift works your entire posterior chain, from your ankles to obviously your QL and your back, your lats, even your shoulders, and sometimes your neck. Like my neck kind of gets fatigued if I'm doing a deadlift right, because that means I'm bracing my core again and I'm doing it functionally correct. The big thing about a deadlift is most people think of it as picking things up and pulling it. It's not. It's a hip hinge. I always tell people, picture, and this is not mine, I've stolen it from somebody else, but picture a dresser drawer behind you is open, and you're going to push it closed with your butt, which means you're not actually bending down, you're hinging at the hips. You're feeling yourself sink back, and that brings your chest down to grab the bar. Deadlift is probably the most done wrong, but when it's done right, I think it has tremendous benefits for your body and for your overall fitness and physical ability to just do things. It's also one that is most applicable in life. Squats, overhead press. How often are you bending down and picking something up? People oftentimes get hurt when they bend, like when they're moving and they're picking up a box, because they do it incorrectly. If you do that every Thursday, and then not every Thursday because you're working on an 8-week cycle, whatever it be, when you regularly do deadlifts, it then is no worry the next time you have to pick something heavy off the ground, because you know that you are trained to pick heavy stuff up the correct way and protect your back. The fifth one is they say a row because a row is more functional for most people. Most people can't do a pull-up. If you do pull-ups correctly, they are a powerhouse of a movement. Nobody's back ever looks as good as when they can do a couple pull-ups. And again, hang a bar over your door, and I guarantee you if you just do one a day, within time, that will build up. Even if you can only do a half rep, it'll build up and build up and build up. So I'm biased to say that pull-ups are the best back movement, but rows are more functional. And there's something that a lot of people do, maybe they just don't do it right. A row is important because your mid-back is the part that suffers the most from our horrible posture. We get this rounded shoulder when we're working at our desks, and that's because your mid-back is not being worked. So a row reverses that the best way possible. The important thing with a row is many people turn it into a bicep movement, or they turn it into a rear delt movement. With a row, and those are okay things, it's just a different muscle. When you want to work your mid-back, you want to think about pulling that bar to your belly button almost. So when I'm doing a barbell row, those are my favorite, or you can do a dumbbell row, same thing. You want to think about pulling it in to your belly button, and that will help you not bias your biceps or your triceps in the movement. It'll help you focus more on that mid-back region. The next one, and these are more of the niche ones. So I would say if you can do those first 5 once a week, if you can go in one day and do a squat, one day and do incline bench, one day and do overhead press, one day and do deadlift, one day and do a row, or if you want to pair those, so chest and back is a popular pairing, or you can do an upper lower split. That's kind of how I roll right now because I need to put more emphasis on my lower because of my running and less emphasis on building muscle on my upper because that doesn't really benefit me in running the Boston Marathon. So an upper lower split, chest back. You can also do a PPL, push pull legs. It's a big common split. However you can structure it, but I would say if you can do those first 5 movements, your body's going to be pretty well trained to survive anything that you throw at it in the day. So after those basic 5 movements, these next 3 are things that should be getting worked in those other movements, but they're still muscles that I think are the most crucial to injury prevention. And Mindpump talks more in depth in their episode. I'll link that episode below because many of the strength training tips and hacks and honestly just foundational knowledge that I have comes from those 3. They are so good at delivering information in such a average person way, not in a way that is super scientific and you get lost in the details. So the 6th movement that I think is crucial is a lateral drag or a lateral lunge. So all of the movements that we've been talking about work in one plane. You're either going up and down or out and back to you. That is all one singular plane. A lateral lunge forces you to use those muscles that when you decide to do something irregular, you decide to twist, you decide to go out and chase your kid around the yard. Those are, again, times where people get hurt because these muscles haven't been worked. I think of this a lot as a runner. Everything I do as a runner is forward. Forward, very rarely backwards. There's no pro agility in running. So I like to do lateral lunges to make sure that my hips, the outside of my legs, my fibula and tibia on those ankle bones, even your obliques. If you're never going side to side, your body loses the familiarity of going side to side. And once it forgets how to, the way people get hurt most times, especially with tissue, like pulling a muscle, stuff like that, it's because the nervous system is not used to that stimulus. And when your nervous system is scared, it gets tight. People oftentimes think tightness needs to be like worked out and worked more. It often just needs stretched in a way that makes it feel comfortable in that position. And so going side to side, if you don't do it enough, your central nervous system will get tight. And when it gets tight and stressed out, that's when you pull things, that's when you hurt things. If you do the lateral lunges or the lateral drag, if you have a sled, you just strap a belt to you and you walk sideways, or even a tube walk. Those famous exercises that girls do in glute videos, they're actually good at just working those outside of your legs so that they're prepared to go side to side. Because oftentimes in life, think of a car we're driving at you. What are you going to do? You're going to have to jump to the side. And if your body isn't used to that because it only works in one singular plane, it will get hurt in those moments. So doing these lateral movements, side to side, something to stretch the outside of those legs, that helps you avoid that hip pain that would arise from even doing other exercises. Like if you're doing squats and your hips hurt, that may be because you don't ever do anything lateral. So try doing some lateral exercises, and hopefully those outside of your hips, outside of your legs will get stretched out and become more comfortable in that position, which means they'll become stronger in that position. Again, your body can't become stronger and build muscle until it feels safe to do so, which means you have to stretch it a little bit, make it a little bit uncomfortable, so that then it starts to go, oh, I got stretched and I was okay. Now I can grow. It's so much like how we operate. We operate in literally ourselves as a whole human. We need stretched and we need pushed outside of our comfort, so that then we feel okay pushing it a little bit further and then a little bit further. And the more you push it, the safer you feel to push it, and then the more you grow into new areas and new strengths. The 7th one is windmills. I like doing these with a kettlebell. They're a little bit more technical. You will want to start with body weight. It's another version of a hip hinge, sort of like a deadlift. You're going to keep your legs straight if you can. You can bend your knees a little bit if you can't. I stagger. If you get really good, you probably don't need to stagger, but I do stagger. And then you're going to put the weight up above you, and you're going to hinge down. Again, pushing that dresser drawer closed with your butt. Hinging down and touching the floor and coming back. This lights up your QL, which the QL is the muscle that most likely is causing people's back pain. It is the quadratus lumborum. It is a deep core muscle running from the top of your pelvis to the lower of your ribs and spine. So think right here where that lower back pain usually pops up. Its function is to help you bend to the side, arch your back, and stabilize your spine when you walk and sit. And what do you do every day? You walk and you sit. So this muscle is crucial, and we just don't train it the right way. If you have pain and tightness in your QL, it's because you're overworking this muscle from long sitting and or weak core support. It triggers deep, sharp, lower back pain. So, and that overworking seems like an oxymoron because we're overworking our QL by sitting down all the time. It naturally wants to be moving. It naturally wants to be stretched in a standing position, but because we are so stationary in our jobs and we bend over and we kind of just sit here and slouch, that QL gets overworked in the contracted space and we don't ever stretch it out. The windmill stretches it out, and as you progressively add some weight, it gets stronger. So I think I'm up to like a 10-pound kettlebell. You can use a dumbbell, and you just hold it up top, and there's a stability component because you're having to work with your grip strength to keep the kettlebell standing straight up, and then you're also bracing your core. So you're sort of helping your QL on the side that you're bending towards, and then that oblique on the opposite side is getting stretched and elongated, and then when you pull to come back up, you're contracting it and building it again. So QL is very important, and if you can master keeping your QL healthy, I guarantee deadlifts won't hurt like they do for most people. It is rotational strength. The QL is often what is in your back pain. It is helping, the windmill is helping you master that spine and hip hinge. It works on your physique. It is helping you master that spine and hip hinge. All of these other exercises, the squat, the overhead press, the bench press, those sort of help you build a physique, build an aesthetic, and then this windmill works on your hinging. And we do so much hinging in life, but because people aren't strengthening those hinging joints, like think of it like a door. The door has very functional pieces. You open the door with the doorknob, you close the door works. But once those hinges get a little squeaky, that door stops working. The tiniest piece of a door, being the hinge, is maybe the most important part. This windmill is strengthening and stretching the most important part, which is our hinges, our hips, our elbows, your knees. Those are oftentimes the things that people need fixed because they're the most important. But most of our exercises work the muscles around the hinges. They don't actually work the hinges. So this windmill works those joints. It makes your hinges strong so that you, quote unquote, being the door, can keep swinging wide open and slamming shut as strong as you need to be. And then the last one, the 8th one. It is any ab movement, but. Most people do abs wrong. You do not need to go do 400 leg kicks or 50 flutter kicks or 75 sit-ups or literally 100 little dead bugs. Those things can be great, but most often you're doing them for your hip flexors. If your hip flexors are tired when you're doing abs, you're doing them wrong and your abs are getting nothing out of it. The ab movements that often work are the ones that are loaded, meaning you add weight to it and you don't do a ton of reps, but you get more volume because you're intentionally pursuing that movement. For some reason, every other muscle, we understand that a 5x5, that doing 3 reps or progressively overloading is good. And then for our abs, we do body weight for 600 reps a day. That's not it. Yes, the burn is doing something for you, maybe just building your discipline if nothing else, but doing abs the right way. If you see, especially girls, boys, abs are a little bit more common, obviously, but if you see a girl with strong 6-pack abs, I guarantee you she's not sitting there doing flutter kicks. She's doing weighted crunches. She's doing weighted decline sit-ups. She's doing a cable crunch with the whole stack used. Or she's doing hanging leg raises slower than ever and only doing like 10 reps. Your abs do not want this fast stimulus over and over and over again. They want a concentrated effort. What happens when you're trying to work your abs and not your hip flexors is that you need to master spinal articulation. What this is, it's making sure that your posterior pelvic tilt is happening so that all the emphasis is in this core. That tilt means flattening your back. So if you're doing one laying on the floor, you often hear they want you to press your lower back into the floor. This is activating the core. Or many people, when you see bodybuilders, they do stomach vacuums where they're just sucking in super far. That is activating the core. If you're not bracing your core, your abs aren't getting worked. You're just getting exhausted. My favorite way to get my muscles to do this, to activate, is I lay on a yoga ball and I do like a sit-up going back, and you'll feel your body roll with the ball. And you're rolling. You want to think about literally, Adam on the Mindpump podcast always says you want to think about rolling those the pieces of your spine over each other. You want them to literally feel like they're just kind of literally just vertebrae by vertebrae collapsing over each other. That is how your abs get strong and functional. Once you master that, you'll realize how to lift and lower your torso by peeling one bone of the spine off of the mat at a time, moving slowly to maintain that constant muscle tension. When you're curling up, think about sliding your front ribs down toward your hip bones rather than pulling with your neck and chest. I try to think of, so you know a deadlift doesn't really necessarily mean pulling, you're hinging. Abs, you also shouldn't be pulling on your abs. You should be folding in a way. If you can think of it as folding rather than pulling, I think that'll help you not just exhaust the muscles around your abs and getting no benefit out of the ab workout. My favorite ab movement is a cable crunch because I can load it very easily. It's also safe. It's not going to hurt me in any way if I watch it collapse. So basically, I put the whole stack on that cable crunch, and I do 4 sets of like 6 crunches, just like I would press every other muscle to grow. I do low reps, heavy weight, and I have seen my abs get so much stronger. And what I really love to do is attach my abs onto my leg days. I think a lot of times people put their abs on their upper body days. If you can do your abs on your leg days, you'll feel it so much more because your core, if you were squatting correct, your core should have gotten a little bit of fatigue from that bracing. And if you were deadlifting correct, your core should have been activated the whole time. And then you end with some abs, and it's like it was already being used and now it's being emphasized. That's how I like to do my abs. Other movements that you can do are a perfect sit-up. This means not yanking your head forward with your arms, but truly just thinking. If you really want abs, you have to spend a good 1 minute of your exercise doing 10 reps of just thinking abs, 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 and only focusing on bracing that muscle for the entire time. From my experience, the second you stop thinking about your abs and the bracing, you'll lose the movement. It's no longer an ab workout. It's then a hip flexor, or even like a tricep movement if you're really yanking your head forward. So do a cable crunch or a perfect sit-up. Decline sit-ups are also good because you get the natural resistance of the angle being declined down, and then you can also load it with a plank coming back up, or a plate. You can easily load it by holding a 45-pound plate if you get crazy strong. The goal, as I said with the abs, is to load them over time. And with all of these movements, you want progressive overload. Your body will not grow, your body will not change if it's not being forced to. That doesn't mean to do it stupidly and throw away all form and all technique and just start stacking on plates. It means getting good at the movement at a low weight, but then not staying there. It means progressing. Progressive overload is what produces muscles and will produce the body you want and produce the longevity you want. I think that's all I got to tell you. These 8 movements being a squat, incline bench or a bench press if you prefer just a flat bench, overhead press, deadlift, windmills, something lateral being a side lunge or a lateral drag with a sled is really good. It also lights your legs up and makes you sweat like crazy. Then you got abs and what did I forget? Pull-ups, rows or pull-ups. If you can master those 8 exercises, or if not the first main 5, you'll be well on your way to being just a healthy individual. And what I'm going to warn you is if you get really good at these 8 movements, I bet there's a day you go in and you're like, man, I hate the gym, but Morgan and the rest of the world told me on a podcast I should do squats. So you go do a squat, and then like out of the glimmer of your eye, you see somebody on the leg extension machine, and you're like, wow, I wonder what that feels like. And then you go do some leg extensions. And then you're looking over at the girl who's crazy and doing Bulgarians with 60-pound dumbbells, and you're like, I bet Bulgarians would make my legs feel absolutely shredded. And then you end up doing Bulgarian split squats. And then the next day you come in and you're like, I can't do a pull-up. I guess I'll go mess around on that little pull-up machine over there and do that for 5 reps. And you start doing pull-ups, then you see somebody doing some rear delt flies. And you're like, rear delts? Never done that. I'll go try that. And all this to say that I believe that anybody who truly devotes themselves to just being a better human being by getting stronger will fall in love once they start seeing their body get stronger and start seeing that progressive overload. And you'll feel good, and not even good as if like you necessarily look good. That will happen, but if you fall in love with just doing simple movements, I bet you fall in love with a little bit more of the gym, and then you want to keep going back, and then maybe you get to the point where you're the girl on a mic talking and telling people to go do 8 movements at the gym so that they fall in love with it and become an enthusiast and change the world one pull-up at a time. That's the goal. So with that, this week, keep it simple. Go do some squats, spend 15 minutes in the gym, do 1 exercise, maybe go for a walk. That should be the 9th one. It's just some steps. And keep it simple and just learn to love it. And if you can't learn to love it, learn to love your body for the benefits it gets to reap from you putting in just a little bit of work every week. Find a friend. It's fun to go to the gym. I'm a loner at the gym. I prefer to put in my podcast and destroy my legs on a leg day, but feel free to talk to people at the gym and make it a community event. If people ever want to talk to me, I am always happy to talk to them at the gym. They just might have to wait till I finish my heavy set of squats. But I've never met somebody who regrets a workout. Maybe, I'm sure there's somebody out there, but you may be regretting it in the moment, but when you're done, those endorphins and the runner's high equivalent of the gym will make you love it. And that's the feeling I want for everybody, is the feeling of getting done with the day and being like, dang, that workout was good, and I can't wait to go back tomorrow. And with that, starve the lies, build your body at the gym with those simple 8 movements, fortify your mind, stay hungry, and always stay unsatisfied. See you guys